Hey everyone, so today we're going to be talking about the new Robinhood cash management system. Now, this is kind of the same cash management system that they talked about 10 months ago, but there was a lot of backlash when they announced it the first time around, so they kind of went back to the drawing board, were very quiet about things until very recent when they kind of re-announced everything. Now, if you are anybody that is interested in getting started with this new cash management system with Robinhood, I'm going to go into some of the details that maybe some other people are not reading about before you actually join in on the wait list to be able to be part of this program. Now, of course, the main reason I want to do this is so that way you are informed as much as possible when wanting to sign up for this program, because it's one thing to, earn 2% on your money like they're promising at the beginning of, opening up these accounts, but it's another thing to actually understand what the pros and cons are on the back end as well, because this is not technically a checking or savings account. This is a cash management system, although a lot of things are going to be very similar to a checking and a savings account. But there's going to be, of course, some differences. We're going to go into that here. We're going to look at some of those pros and cons, and then that way you can make that right decision on if this is something you want to be part of as well. Now, the first and most important thing when it comes to this new cash management system is the fact that it is going to be FDIC insured. So your money will be protected for you, just like every other type of bank account that you would normally hold money into, so you don't have to worry about it. And then we're going to go and read some of the terms and conditions when it comes to actually having this account. So bear with me because I'm going to read it from the computer here, and I'm going to have it up here on the screen so you guys can see this in real time to see what I'm going to be going over. Now, you of course want to go into all the detail yourself, so you don't miss anything out. I would encourage you to read it instead of just signing up, because you just never know what you're getting yourself into. And, we live in a day and age where we kind of complain about the idea that every time we talk about something, we all of a sudden see ads for it. Well, that's because we allow that kind of stuff in our terms and conditions with like Facebook, Instagram, Google, all these different apps to allow them to hear our voices through the microphones on our phones, so that way they can cater these ads to us. So believe it or not, a lot of that stuff that we fear is because we accept it in the terms and conditions. So let's go ahead and read through and see what they say. All right, so here is going to be one of the big important ones when it comes to the terms and conditions. I went under the debit card agreement section when I went to look and read more about this overall card. Now, for me personally, I thought this was interesting. And it says here, you hereby agree to the bank's and Robinhood's collection, use, and sharing of information about you and the card as provided in the privacy policies, which are made part of this agreement. The privacy policies also tell how you can limit the ways in which the bank and Robinhood share information about you, and or request corrections to the information that the bank or Robinhood maintain about you. So this is, of course, something really important to note, that these companies can actually pretty much know everything that you're purchasing, where you're purchasing them from, because we're providing that information. So there are ways to limit the amount of information if you don't feel comfortable with them knowing all of it. So just keep aware and, be very mindful in that respect. If you don't care, then awesome. But if you do, that is something really important to note. So in this part right over here, it does say that in order to be part of the card program, which is the cash management system, you do actually have to be a current brokerage customer of Robinhood. So of course, if you're not a Robinhood customer, I'm gonna actually link up my referral link in the show notes down below. That actually gives you a free stock with Robinhood. Unfortunately, I'm capped out on my referrals, but at least you can get started with the free stock and then also sign up for the actual cash management system. I don't think there's any stipulations saying that you had to have like a certain amount of money in your actual investments. So if you didn't really want to do any of the investment part, but just the cash management, you can do that as well if you wanted to. But just something to keep in mind. And of course, you do have to be over 18 years old to be able to apply for the actual investing portion, which means you'd have to be over 18 to actually have this cash management system as well. Now, this one was a very big one for me, and this was actually one of the main reasons I wanted to go through this terms and conditions, was to see about the liability on your card. So what happens if somebody stole your card, got your card information, and spent the money that's on your card? Are you going to be liable for it, or do you actually get protected, against that kind of stuff? And when I went through this process, it's actually MasterCard that has the zero liability policy. So on here it says, in addition to your limitations of liability under the sector entitled so-and-so, your liability for the unauthorized use of your card may also be limited by MasterCard for transactions processed through the MasterCard network, subject to the limitations and exclusions stated above. Under the MasterCard rules, you will have no liability for a transaction that was not authorized by you if you exercise reasonable care in safeguarding your card from risk, loss, or theft, and upon being aware of such losses or theft and promptly reporting such losses or thefts to Robinhood. The MasterCard Zero Liability policy is subject to change without notice, and changes made by MasterCard will automatically be applied to your card. So that is great news in the sense that it means if something were to happen and your card got stolen or somebody found out your information and started using it, then you can be protected as long as you announce that information to Robinhood as quickly as possible, and that you're of course showcasing that you are good with protecting your information and your card and not being, free will and putting it on the internet for people to see or leaving your stuff all over the place. I don't know how they would, find out about that kind of stuff, but you just never know in this day and age as what they actually know. So for me, that seems like a reasonable, protection for the user. Although the really big downside with Robinhood is that they don't actually really have a customer service line. So everything is going to have to be done through email. So just something to keep in mind, that if you're going to go through the process of having your card stolen or transactions that were not authorized by you, all that's going to be done through email, and there's not going to be really anybody to call, which can be frustrating. And hopefully that changes. Maybe they do add a customer service line at some point, but just again, something to keep in mind when going through this process. Now, before we continue on with more of this in-depth information for the Robinhood cash management system, make sure you drop a like on this video and let me know in the comments down below, do you plan on actually opening up a cash management system with Robinhood? I'd like to hear from you guys. So this one right here, I just wanted to make awareness for anybody that is using the card and maybe is saving up for like big purchases or, whatever the case may be. There are some limitations on your transactions. So from the point of sale, which is just running your card or using, Apple Pay or Google Pay, there is going to be a $5,000 limit and then a $15,000 weekly limit. You also have $510 as an ATM withdrawal limit, which that means you can actually draw money out from an ATM. And they do have a thing where it's not going to have any fees up to I think 75,000 plus ATMs. Sometimes it's still going to have ATM fees from the actual ATM companies, but Robinhood wouldn't charge you on their end. And then it looks like weekly withdrawals from ATMs is about 5,000. So the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I know sometimes people might say, hey, for 2%, this might be a good place to keep money for, future car, future house, down payments, whatever the case may be. And then have it where they're going to have a large payment that's going to go through on the card. So if you're somebody who's going to be saving up for a large down payment for, let's say, a car, and then you want to use that money directly from the Robinhood cash management system, you wouldn't be able to do more than the actual $5,000. And from everything I was looking at, I didn't see any way to be able to contact them to maybe raise the actual limit, even if it's temporary. That might be the case, but I just didn't see anything here in the terms and agreements. Now, if you are brand new to the overall process of going through and opening up a cash management system, you're going to have to most likely give a bit of information out to the actual account so that way they can protect you and themselves from the government inquiring about the money that you have in your account. And the main reason for this is, of course, they say here for terrorism or money laundering activities, the federal law requires all financial institutions to obtain, verify, and record information that identifies each person who opens an account. So just be aware, because I do get sometimes people mentioning this when they try to open up cash management systems like Cash App or Venmo as well, and that they have to give out some information. And that's, of course, by law, that is required, so they can't skip it if they wanted to. They have to get that information. So just something to be aware of when going through the process. Now, as far as fees when it comes to this cash management system, it pretty much looks like there's going to be no fees across the board, whether it's the opening fees, the account maintenance fees, the inactivity fees, because I know sometimes people ask and worry about that, new card fees. But the interesting thing as well is that there's no foreign transaction fees. So if you go to a foreign country and you want to pull money out in that country, you're actually not going to get foreign transaction fees. You might get ATM fees or some other things like that, but no foreign transaction fees, which I thought was really, really cool. And then again, if you are in network with ATMs, which I think on the app, it'll show you like locations nearby you with free ATMs, that's going to be $0 just from Robinhood themselves. But always be wary that, ATMs sometimes will charge their own fees on their end as well. One thing I also wanted to mention too as well, when it comes to protecting your money, when it comes to fraud and somebody stealing that stuff, they do have some optional things available for you that you can turn on. They do have location protection. It says your card transactions will automatically be declined if your card is used too far away from where your phone is, which I think is a really interesting feature. Again, this part is optional, so you don't have to use it, but I think it's a really cool way to really continue to help protect you. There's also a transaction notification, which says we'll send you push notifications on each transaction. If something looks off, you can immediately lock your card in the app and report fraud. You can also disable these notifications if you're not into this level of detail. Again, these are optional. I really like the idea of the location protection. Obviously, that means that you're giving them all that information on where you are all the time, which if that means I don't have to worry about dealing with my card being used outside of my general vicinity, because I don't know why I would have my card but not my phone around me. I think it's a really cool feature, and I think that can go a long way. And if other companies implement that, I wouldn't be mad about it either. So one of the other big things, because I mentioned this is not a checking account or a savings account, this is kind of just a mesh of just holding onto your money. There's not going to be a routing number or account number from the sounds of it, so you won't be able to do like a direct deposit or have, money being pulled out for like bill pay and stuff, at least from what it seems like. Obviously, you can put your debit card information in there for bill pays, so that way you can have that money pulled out from there if you so chose to. And it doesn't seem like there's any limitation on the amount of times you're utilizing your card per day, as long as, of course, you're not hitting over the limit on spending. So that's really nice as well, too. So you can have the freedom of spending your card the way you would like to, of course, with the management of the actual money that you're spending. And then some other quick notes on this one. It is going to be a MasterCard debit card. So it's just pretty much everywhere where MasterCard is available. You'll also be able to use it online as well. You can punch in all the numbers, so you could do purchases that way. And as of this recording right now, the interest rate is actually going to be at 2.05% APY, which is actually quite a bit lower than when they originally announced the cash management system, but about on par with a lot of the other online banks. So you're still gonna earn a decent amount, and it'll be interesting to see how they kind of compete at those rates. So as I mentioned, I do recommend that you do extra research before actually going through the process of signing up for the cash management system. But once you do and you figure out that this is something you want to be part of, if you don't already have that Robinhood account, click that link in the show notes down below. That is my referral link. So that way, one, you can get the free stock, and then two, you can sign up for the cash management system. Now, if you are brand new to Robinhood, I want you to click on this video right over here that will actually go into some great detail on getting started with the platform. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.